Scontasini per Nedved, Pirlo, la conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium.
Ciao tifosi bianconeri, hello and welcome to episode 343 of the Turin Giants podcast. I am Kevin, your host for this episode. Apologies for those of you watching the video version of this. Apologies for my background. I'm coming to you from a borderline 3, probably more of a 2-star hotel here in Amsterdam for work. But I am joined by my good friends, Zach and Frederic. How are you guys?
Well, I'm excited to wash off the Monaco game by reminiscing about our experience in Turin. So that makes me really excited for this.
Well, basically the same. Only thing is I had an emergency procedure on my tooth just now, literally 15 minutes ago. So I'll try to manage as best as I can. But yeah, I'm excited to share our experiences with everybody and, talk amongst ourselves and kind of reflect on what an amazing weekend that was. So very happy.
Yeah, so as Zach and Frederic have alluded to, this is a bit of a special, unique episode for those of us here at Turin Giants. As our frequent listeners may already know, the three of us had the honor, luxury, and opportunity of being able to be in Turin for the Juventus-Napoli match just a couple days ago. And we want to take some time to share a bit about this experience. And I know for those of us in the Juventus community, being able to get to the city, to get to the Allianz, to watch Juve in person is a dream for all fans of the black and white all over the world. And I know not everybody gets the opportunity to do so. And we're very fortunate to have had that opportunity. And we want to share a little bit with you. So for those of you, we are live on YouTube. So for those of you who are here with us, if you have specific questions for us, please put them in the chat. We will definitely have time to get through them. We want to share as much as what we felt, what we tasted, what we experienced, what we saw, what we went through with all of you. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this dialogue, especially in context of what we witnessed yesterday with the final match of the league stage against Monaco, which is a match I really do not look forward to talking about ever again. But that game on Sunday was just incredible. So just a few quick things, right? If you're listening to us for the first time, this is a very unique episode. We're so happy to have you with us for repeat, either folks joining us here live on YouTube or watching the video later or listening to the podcast via Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you for spending time with us. If you have not already subscribed or liked or provided a 5-star review, taking 10 seconds to do that means the world to us. Thank you for doing so. So with that, let's get right into it. Sunday, I'll take a half a step back. Wherever your lives progress, right, and the experience that each and every one of you and us has on this earth, we live many, many days. I think we're fortunate if there are days that we have where you carry it with you, and you remember every moment from it. From what you did when you woke up to how the morning progressed to what you did during that day, what you ate, what you experienced, who you are with. what you felt. And Sunday, I am proud to say, with these two gentlemen and a few other folks who we were with in that day, this is a day I will never forget. It was pretty much a truly, truly perfect day. I think if Milan had beat Roma, that may have been like the icing on the cake later that evening.
Close,
But it
close.
was borderline a perfect game. Zach, I would love, or perfect day. Zach, I would love to start with you. I, as some listeners may know, I lived in Turin for a couple of years, so the city is near and dear to my heart, and I've been fortunate to see a number of Juve matches. Frederic, I know you've seen a number of amazing Juve games at the Allianz over the years, but Zach, it was your first time in Turin. It was your first time at a Juventus match. Just what did that experience mean to you?
You know, I was on the flight over. I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm going to spend 28 hours in a plane to and from Italy to spend 60 hours in town. I mean, that's a big trip. I'm like, am I crazy to go all those way by myself to meet these guys I've never met before? Turns out, by the way, that Frederic is a reverse catfish scenario. I mean, he's this middle-aged man online, but really in real life, he's actually a hot chick. And I'm thinking to myself, is it crazy? And I'm like, no. And it's an opportunity to see a team you love and to experience that with people who you've gotten to know and that you cherish. From the time spent not only with Kevin and Frederic, but the friends that we met along the way, fans of the podcast, fans of Bepe's who recognized us, all collectively joining it in celebration of Juve for a wonderful match meant it was so much more of a weekend than just Juventus. It was a weekend amongst people, good friends and good people. And that is really probably what I'm going to cling to as much as the victory is how nice the city was and how nice the people were in addition to the experience. And that was maybe the thing that surprised me the most too, was have so many people welcome me, not, most of them who didn't know me, to just be, part of the family.
I mean, you're definitely right. And even the evening before, I was able to have both of you guys and a few other friends from the city come over to my apartment over there and share some drinks and have some food and just have amazing conversation. We had a couple gentlemen from the Italian Magpies kind of club, and if you're not familiar with that, as I'm sure all through Bianconeri know, like the black and white coming from a connection with Notts County over in the UK. And there's this really interesting history between Notts County and Juve. And there is a fan club, but between between the two sides, and there's a number of Italian folks who support Notts County as a result of that of that relationship. And there were a few folks over, and I remember we were sitting there, and it's, hey, if the match goes poorly tomorrow, which obviously it didn't, we had this evening together amongst friends, old and new, just talking about each other's lives, but also a lot of the conversation, as you can imagine, was focused on Juve. But it was a pretty magical time. Frederic, leading up to the match, right, and getting to spend time with fellow Juventini who were passionate about it. Just how awesome was it just to be in that environment?
Well, for me, the game itself was a cherry on top. I mean, meeting you guys was absolutely amazing. Like, we spent a lot of time together. We're practically almost family. I mean, if you count the hours that we put into this podcast and chatting online, and then eventually having the honor to meet with you guys in real life was so amazing, was so mind-blowing for me, because there are these two persons that I see on a computer screen a couple of times a week, and they're just standing now in front of me, and I have the chance to go out with them, talk with them in real life, make jokes with them in real life. And then, of course, the people I met, like Maurizio from around Turin, Luca and his lovely wife, shout out to them, because they were so hospitable, so friendly, so amazing. The guys from the Italian Magpies. I mean, we met so many people, and every single one of them was so kind and so sweet. And having that combined with the fact that I met you guys, which for me was the highlight of my trip, and topping it off with an amazing victory, with an amazing atmosphere, and an amazing Juventus as a whole, was just my best experience in Turin up until now. So I'm still on cloud nine, for that matter. So it's something that I'll cherish forever till the day I die, and it's one of those memories that's gonna stick with me and get me through hard times for sure. And I have you guys to thank for that. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Shout out to everybody we met there. It was one of the best experiences in my life, and I owe you guys for that.
And I need to specifically shout out Federico of the Juventus Club Belgium, now who not only hooked me up with my 3 scarves here, one for the supporters. Oh, this is from the women's club. This is from the Belgian supporters club. That one's from Juventus. He helped me also with my tickets and everything like that. So big shout out to Federico, as well as all Juve clubs around the globe. I know, Kevin, you're part of the Boston one. Farhad, member of our team, is the head of the Chicago one. Jack, member of our team, is a part of, I think, the New Jersey one. So shout out to all of them who do a really good work in coordinating and helping people get put in touch with the stadium and resources there.
Beautifully said, both of you. So Zach, you actually beat us to the city. You arrived on Friday. You had most of Friday and early Saturday to spend before Frederic and myself arrived to the city. Just tell us a little bit about what you did. And I mean, I could talk about the city of Torino and Piemonte for hours and hours and hours. We're not going to do that. But Zach, just what did you see in the city? What did you do? How did it make you feel?
So I've been to Italy several times, but I've actually never been to Torino. And so it's really important to me when I go anywhere to sink into the city a little bit, interact with the people and walk around and see what's going on. I think that anybody who goes to Torino, I think one of their first stops is going to be to cross the river and climb up to the Church of Santa Maria, right? That's where you get all those overlook pictures of Torino with the
also
mole.
known as Monte dei Cappuccini.
But yeah, so that was one of my first stops to walk up there and then get a picture of the city and sort of take it in. It was a little bit chilly, but you kind of walk through a nice little park up to the top, and then to stop into a little cafe, get an espresso, stop into a little place, get a croissant, talk to some people, go check out the Moli and the museums. I wanted to figure out what the vibe of the city was and interact with people. Juventus is such a big part of my life that it would seem a wasted opportunity if I didn't maximize the time in the city to meet people and find out what the city and its inhabitants were all about. And it kind of goes back to my theme, or impromptu theme of this episode, is that the people are so awesome, and we're so nice and we're so welcoming that it made it a fun experience. Especially for someone who I wouldn't say is overly outgoing. Some people are just natural explorers when they go somewhere new. I wouldn't necessarily describe myself as such. But I felt almost immediately welcomed as I was walking around in the city. And that was, I think, the first sort of beginning, a positive beginning of an awesome weekend.
And then when Frederic arrived, the two of you had the opportunity to go to what some might find to be relatively surprising, but there's a very interesting connection between Turin, Italy, and ancient Egypt. And the city of Turin has the second largest collection of Egyptian artifacts outside of Cairo. So the two, I've been there before a couple of times, but you two had the opportunity to go to the Egyptian Museum. How was it?
Well, before we went there, we meet, and it's sort of just like the double take of, oh yeah, that bald guy looks familiar. Stopped by a cafe, got a couple cappuccinos, and talked for a while, which was nice. But then we went to the Museo Egizio, very cool. Everything kind of in that downtown area is super walkable. And so it was just, a couple blocks up, a couple blocks over type of situation. And it gave us an opportunity to see something special about the city of Turin while also talking about our lives and what we brought us there and our excitement for the game. Frederic, how many times did we get lost trying to figure out where to go next in that museum?
37, I think. Or at least I lost count at 37. It was like exit there. Oh no, there's another space right here. Oh, all right, take a left. Hey, we haven't seen this before. So it was, but it was amazing. Like, especially for me because I just got to meet Zach. Came off a flight, and for the people that don't know, I have a huge fear of flying. So for me, that was an endeavor in itself already. But then got to chill out. The museum was great. So many cool things. Took a bunch of pictures for my children because my oldest daughter loves like Egyptian culture and history. So it would have been nice if I get to share that with her one day. But it was very nice. And I honestly, yeah, we got lost like a lot of times in that museum. So it's fast. It's very, yeah, it kind of hits you to the core because I think we saw some things there that were more than 10,000 years old. So it's something special. And afterwards, if I'm not mistaken, we got to meet up with the big man, our Turin resident from Turin Giants, and we had the most wonderful pizza I ever ate.
You skipped though the sort of the downtown-ish, if I might call it that, Juve store. Which,
Yeah.
if folks are who haven't been to the town are not aware, I think there's 3 Juventus stores in Turin, and I think 2 of them are quite small. So we went to sort of the downtownish one, really close to the museum. It was very small. We kind of peeked in there, but for those going to the city, certainly going to the game, save your store time for the one at the stadium. That's just a little piece of advice.
Yeah, it was kind of crowded and just too small to be Juventus store, in all honesty.
Yeah, the one in
Um,
Milan is huge. Surprisingly, the Juve
yeah,
store in Milan is like quadruple the size of the one in downtown Turin.
yeah, yeah. I honestly don't see the reasoning behind that, but it is whatever it is, and yeah, it was nice, but it wasn't like the highlight. I think Zach and I were a little underwhelmed. I already been there, but you would have figured that they would have expanded, but they didn't. So we checked that out, and after that, we met up with you and Luca and his lovely wife, and which was an amazing experience because they were so kind, so helpful, and like I said, best pizza ever. I don't know if you could tell us a bit more about the pizza, Kev, because it
Yeah, I would.
It's
Would
different.
love to.
It's a little different.
It is a little bit different. So I think when most people think about pizza in Italy, you gravitate towards the Neapolitan, which we were not going to eat Napolitano pizza in advance of a Juve match. But I mean, jokes aside, I mean, obviously the Neapolitan pizza is a wonderful style, thin. You have to eat it with a fork and a knife because you can't really pick it up because of how thin it is. But the pizza style that they have in Turin is almost more of a focaccia dough base, but it's cooked in a metal pan that's about maybe kind of 20-25 centimeters in diameter, and they put oil in the pan, and then they cook it at a very, very high temperature. But the pizza come out, it's much thicker. It's a bit doughier, but it's a bit crispy on the bottom because it's cooked in the metal pan in the oil. So it's called a pizza al padalino, which is the opposite of like paladino. You switch the L and the D's, and you get padalino. Padalino is a pan in Italian, a little pan. So the pizza's cooked in that. It's an individual size, and it's just incredible. I love it so much. Very, very unique, and that is one of the cool things about Italian cuisine. I think when you get outside of Italy, there's only certain dishes I think become truly international. and a lot of the food in Piemonte and within Torino does not kind of get outside of the country, and there's a very specific cuisine there that is truly incredible, from the pastas and the appetizer, the steaks, the slow cooked meats that goes incredibly well with some of the best wines in the world. The Barolos, the Barbarescos, if you're familiar with those makes, all just coming from just south of the city, and Turin truly has an incredible kitchen.
I have to shout out. So the night, the first day I was there by myself. So I walk in solo into restaurant. Yes, a table for just me, please. Then I order like 6 courses because I want to try everything. The agnolotti was fantastic. You got a couple options of like what sauce to put on it, butter and sage. I think with the agnolotti, get it. You go there, get it. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Uh, Anything else you guys want to say about the city? Like, as I said, I could talk about it for hours, but I'm sure people would rather hear about what we did at the stadium.
Yeah. Let's move on. The Saturday was sort of just the appetizer to what Sunday was going to be. So I think we can move on to game day.
Just one thing though, I feel that Turin as a city is vastly underrated. And I just want to, give people, if they're listening, the chance, even if you don't go to see a game and just want to have a nice chill fly over with your girlfriend, your wife, or whatever, please don't, put Turin in the bottom drawer, because it has so much to offer. It's so diverse. You literally have everything there. It's awesome. Have a look if you haven't been. And yeah, I mean, vastly underrated city.
Yeah, and the Baroque architecture. I mean, not many people know it was Italy's first capital. I mean, it didn't last very long, but after the unification of Italy, Torino was the original capital of Italy before it moved to Rome, obviously what it is now today. But rich history, its industrial past, its modernization, the really incredible place. But we will stop there and move on to game day. Surprisingly for myself, having been to, I don't quite know how many Juve matches I've been to. If I had to guess, it's probably somewhere between 40 and 50 matches that I've been to. And again, very fortunate to have had that opportunity, but had never done a stadium tour or been to the museum. And with Zach and Frederic being in town, it's like, we have to do this. So with the match being at 6 p.m. local time, we got tickets to do the stadium tour and go into the museum 6 hours earlier at noon. And the tour, it was a much bigger group than we had expected.
Big.
I think there were 50, 75 people. It was a pretty big group, but I mean, it was match day, Juve-Napoli. I guess I can understand why they were packing it, but they take us kind of into, I don't want to say a back door of the stadium, but kind of an inconspicuous entrance that we went through, and we're kind of walking kind of underneath some of the seats and just going through the open air hallways of the stadium. And then they take us to an entrance where you actually walk into the stadium. And for myself, as I've said, I've walked into the stadium a number of times, but going into it without anybody there and getting to see the seats as they are with the stars and like the alternating black and white. When you guys, Zach specifically, right, like seeing the stadium, being in it for the first time, when you stepped out and saw the stadium for the first time, like, what was going through your mind?
At first, it didn't seem real. Like, it was one of those pinch me moments where you're like, this isn't a dream, right? I'm still here. Because you see it on TV, and let's be real, like from Houston, Texas, where I'm at right now, Turin, Italy is far away, right? I mean, it's just so much of it seems like almost out of reach at times, which is why on the plane I was like, what am I even doing? It almost seems crazy. But when you walk in there and it took me a second to realize I was there, and then to absorb that I was in the stadium. It just really was this unique experience where Not, it wasn't emotional, like tears emotional, but it was emotional as in like I felt like I was where I was supposed to be at that moment, and that was sort of a welcoming feeling for me, and it moved me a lot in terms of sinking into that day, where it wasn't like you were a Houston, Texas person in Torino, Italy, no more so like you were a Juventino in the place where they played at their home, and that was, I think, maybe a slight little mental switch where things turn for me, where I'm like, I'm here and this is awesome and let's go. And the stadium experience really helped me flip that switch in my head.
Frederic, what about you?
Well, I did it before a number of times, so it wasn't all that surprising to me. Uh, yeah, because I went with various people, so they had to do the stadium tour as well, so I had to kind of follow. Um, but it was nice experiencing it again. And the thing that I missed, uh, for me personally, was every time that I went, there was a special game, so there were special flags on the seats, or like banners or small cardboard cutouts from something. And they didn't have that day. So I was thinking about, is this not going to be a special game? Are we scared? Are we a bit cautious? So, but yeah, that went out the window pretty fast. And then to move on to the museum tour, that was different from the one I expected, because they remodeled the museum. And it was very emotional for me. This was for me some uh, tears in my eye moments, especially when we passed
Di Gregorio.
Yeah, yeah. That was pure heartache that gave me tears in my eyes. But no, where there's a whole corner where they dedicated to how Juventus was formed, basically, and they have the actual little bench where they discussed the beginning of Juventus. And having read that story, even though I've heard it many a times, and the way it came about, to me, was kind of moving. That something like a football club unites so many people and can withstand the test of time.
Well, Frederic, why don't you tell the story, if not everybody may know that?
No, so basically what it was in 1897, some friends came together who were very passionate about this game called football or soccer back in the day, which was popular in England.
On
But
Corso
they
Re Umberto in Torino.
Yes, yes. And they sat on that bench and they were basically discussing how blatantly wrong it is that there's no space for people to practice that sport, in the vicinity of where they live. So they decided, well, F it, we're gonna start our own club and we're gonna name it after the youth. Juventus is Latin for the term youth. And they just founded Juventus. That was basically on that bench it was discussed, and I think a day or two later they put pen to paper and really made some giant efforts into getting that club started. And what started as a small club, as a hobbyist club in order to play some football, quickly grew out to the Juventus we knew now. And it was a amazing tale, and you have to read it, you have to look at the pictures, you have to look at the letters and the drafts that they wrote, and you could see the bench and whatever, and just that mixed with all that authenticity, that history, that Juventus DNA. I know it sounds a bit tacky, but you could really feel that DNA, especially with the moving images and the hardships and the victories and the blood, sweat, and tears, figuratively, was something that moved me quite numerously. And then I saw Di Gregorio cut out, and it was all gone. So
No,
I don't know exactly what your feeling was about.
You can't talk about the museum tour, I think, without mentioning the trophy room, because they do, I think, a wonderful job celebrating, taking anybody who walks into that room through sort of a cinematic journey of all of the trophies that Juventus have won for the men's team and the women's team. And we were waiting in line. We're like, what's the holdup here? I thought we was at the end. Like, why is everyone waiting here? I wasn't annoyed per se, but I was like, what's going on? And then I realized that it's not very long. It's just a few minutes. There's this presentation in sort of this small, somewhat octagonal room. And you go in there and you just see, it's just the walls lined with trophies. You look up and there's sort of a big screen above you. And as it takes you through the history of Juventus, the various trophies light up. And like when it got to the series of 9 straight Scudetti, like that's where like tear emotions started hitting me, which were different than the emotions of walking into seeing the stadium for the first time. Like it was real. There was genuine power behind that presentation, and it was amazing. So for folks, I think the price of admission, so to speak, and it wasn't very much at all to do the stadium and museum tour, but the price of admission was worth it for that trophy presentation.
Completely. And I think from my perspective, there were, I think, 4 like really kind of meaningful highlights to that. So I think one, again, for those stepping into the stadium for the first time or stepping into it after having been there for many, many matches, but stepping in to it empty and just getting to take it all in, like in its authenticity as it stands there without fans, without a match being played, is a really cool spectacle to take in. I think the second thing is the new the Hall of the Captains that they put together recently with the portraits and a little bit of a bio for all of the captains, which is right outside of the locker room. The third, just as Frederic referenced, right, getting to walk through the history, starting with that conversation on the bench, through the different decades, the highs, the lows, from the very kind of first conversation and the inception of the club through Calciopoli, through the 9 season title haul. Very cool. There's a really nice, albeit a bit smaller, like section for the Juve women, which is great to see them be a part of that as well. And then the fourth, of course, as Zach just said, the trophy room in the latest edition was really, really awesome. Before we move on to the match, I do just want to give a quick shout out here to everyone joining us in the chat. We have Suresh, we have Bogdan, we have P Bugs, we have scrolling up further here, we have Osama, we have Ivan. Thank you for being here, but a personal one for myself. We have Luca and Mayu here, my friends in Turin, who spent so much of the weekend with these 2 bald-headed knuckleheads here, Zach and Frederic. Thank you for being here, and we hope to relive something like that at some point in the future. It was a truly a wonderful day.
Big thanks.
And then
honestly.
the match came. So we spent that amazing time. We got a nice pizza afterwards. We had some beers. We stood outside the stadium, the Around Turin bus showed up. And again, for those of you who have never been to a match and you're traveling from a country that's not Italy, I can't recommend Around Turin enough. What Maurizio and his business partners do to bring people together, to get things organized, to help you feel like there's someone you can count on to ask a question around just kind of how to navigate this match weekend and getting in and out and where to stay. It's a really great resource. So if you are thinking of going to a match, make sure to check out Around Turin on Instagram or their website, aroundturin.com. But that crew showed up, and it was great to spend some time with those fans. And then we go into the match. All 3 of us, plus again my friends Luca and Mayu, we were in the second ring of the stadium, the secondo anello, in Curva Sud. We were situated a bit more on the side, but Zach and Frederic, you guys were right in the thick of it, right? Like you guys were right in the middle there.
Yep.
Before we get to the altercation,
Nah.
Frederic, that you had, like let's pump the brakes on that. But just what was it like being in there with the passion, the chanting, the songs, the flags? How was your view? Just like what was it like being there with Pervasud?
Two things. Just real quick and this is strictly from an American sporting perspective. You know, when you purchase a ticket and it has a seat on it, normally that means that that's your seat. That is not the case. Your seat in the curva is wherever there's space, which was very interesting and fun. So we found ourselves a space right next to one of the big flag bearers, and I tell you, it is a hack that if you're in the curva and you're nervous about being able to see, stand close to somebody waving a flag, because the flag will be above you. And so then you'll have a clear view of the pitch below you. And so there was, for me, no issues seeing, because we were right next to our good friend, or our soon to be good friend. And being able to see everything. Also, like when David scores, it was right below us, and it's usually we look down, uninterrupted view of that goal.
Yeah.
Really
And
cool.
for me, it was a bit different because I never sat in the Curva in the Allianz. When I did, I used to sit with Drugi or Iriducibili back in the Stadio delle Alpi. So I was pretty used to the whole Curva thing, and some of the songs I still remembered, as Zach can testify on that. But there was a lot of electricity beforehand. Like you could feel that there was something brewing, there was something going on, and it was so crowded, so busy, but so full of electricity, so full of passion that, you know, Zach and I during halftime even said to each other, well, we're not going to go to the toilet and get some drinks. We're just going to stay right here because we have a perfect view right in the epicenter of everything. And I even saw Zach sing along, even though he didn't know the words or whatever, or just clapping. And for me, that was one of the most amazing parts of this journey, because I actually saw that Zach felt himself as part of the Juventus greater good. And there was no like, who's watching me or whatever. It was just all natural, free flowing, electric. We were jumping, we were hugging, we were spilling beers, we were shouting, we were singing, we were clapping. It was like 90 minutes bar the 15 and then half time, but it was you know, pure electricity, adrenaline, and good fun. And I think that's what football is all about.
You don't know what you're going to get into per se, like, because when you watch it on TV, sometimes the feed, you don't know what's capturing it. Then you hear people saying, well, you know, the Allianz is really not a good home field. They're not that loud. They have trouble selling out. You know, a couple of years ago they were saying this, and I went in not with any preconceived notion, but I'm just curious and what the game day was like. And we walk in maybe an hour early. Really, only the ultras are there. And then as the game approaches and you see the stadium fill up, I mean, it was packed. There was not an empty seat in the entire stadium, and there was this electricity and this buzz. And then what Frederic was kind of alluding to, when the goals went in, just the madness and outpouring of positive emotion and elation and sort of collective brotherhood. I mean, there are people, I hadn't met anybody around me other than Frederic, and we're hugging and high-fiving, and people are falling in all over from different levels on each other and everything. And it just was, we were all just part of a collective celebration. And that was just so fun for me, to kind of step outside myself and certainly outside of my comfort zone and just be a part of the community that's supporting a team that I love.
So Zach, I'm intentionally kind of holding off on the fun altercation that Frederic had. We'll build to that. But before the match even started, right? There's a bit of a spectacle within the stadium with some of the lights and like starting from when the players enter the pitch to AC/DC's Thunderstruck. and the music that goes with it. And then they transition to, once they go back into the locker room, announcing the starting lineups, and then there's a couple of Juve anthems and songs, and the passion behind that. And if you've only ever experienced Juve through television, you don't necessarily get exposed to everything that goes into the build up to the match. And I know when I saw my first match in the stadium, I think it was the first year of the Allianz, so back in 2011, in that stadium, I didn't know what I was going to experience. Like, what was that like for you? Because it may have been a bit of a surprise.
I think it was a nice sort of slowly building crescendo from when like the goalkeepers come out and sort of the training staff come out at the very beginning, up into after the anthem when they do Storia di un grande amore, right? And that's sort of when it got to that point. Again, another moment of deep emotion, because like the whole stadium singing the song, myself included, as the players take their spot in the ball for the first time in my life. I was going to see the ball kicked off live at Allianz. Like, I think they did a really good job building to that, where it wasn't just nothing, blowing the whistle, start the game, from the players coming out, the staff coming out, the training, the music, and everything. I thought it was a really cool build, so that fever pitch that we keep talking about could build amongst everybody in the stadium.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see. Frederick, sorry, go ahead, buddy.
No. I just wanted to say, like, the momentum that they build up is really nice, and if you can combine that with a very good start, at least in terms of intensity, like we saw against Napoli, and that's like the perfect combination, because you already get your blood got flowing already because of these anthems and the music and the vibes, and then you start off ferociously with the crowd yelling, the curva singing, and it all adds to that. So it was, I couldn't say it better than Zach said during our live from on the bus. It was the perfect storm.
And you had a bit of a storm to confront throughout the match. So why don't we've joked around it enough. Sorry if I raised the expectations around this, maybe too much, but it's a fun story. So you spilled a beer on a guy.
It's tale
so
of
it all
brotherhood.
starts with you spilling a beer on a guy, and proceed.
Allegedly.
Well, yeah.
His attorney says allegedly. Okay.
And in my defense, he put his beer right next to my feet, like on my position, and everybody was moving around. Some people had to get past to get through their seats, so you automatically just scoot a bit over to make it comfortable for them. And apparently, in that moment, I spilled his beer, and he started talking to me or somebody else. I think it was Zach that said, "Hey, this guy wants to have a word with you." And he said, "You spilled my beer." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was unaware of the fact that I spilled your beer." And he said, "Well, at least you could do is give me an apology." And then I said, "Well, I just said I'm sorry, but I was unaware of the fact. I'll buy you another one." And then he said, "I don't want your fucking beer." And then I replied with, "Va bene, cazzi tuoi," which means like, "Yeah, okay, that's your decision. Fuck off." And then he was like, "Do you even know who I am?" I said, "No, and I don't fucking care either." At that point, he turned around.
I'm going like this. All right.
I'm like,
all right.
I'm like, pick your moments. Hey, pick your moments. But he just turned around, and then I was like, okay, we'll see. And the guy next to me was like, "Don't worry," because the guy next to us, I don't know if you remember, Zach, or next to me, that was somebody who was very from the loud side of Turin as well, and very ultra-minded. But that was the flag bearer and one of the capo of one of the ultra groups. I think it was Drugi even.
Yeah, he asked me. He
But
asked me
yeah,
to. Yeah, he asked me to waive it later too. I mean, it was he well, how did it? And it turned that there was an exchange of peace offerings. This
yeah,
was almost like ancient times where they had sort of a
yeah.
bartering system. You know, turns
Yeah,
around.
so with the flag bearer thing, because they're incredibly heavy, so you can't wave them all game. So they switch up between ultras. Like someone
Mhm.
takes the flag for 5 minutes and the other one. And
By
this
the way,
guy was smoking.
the rotation they have is really
Was better than
impressive.
Juve's rotation.
No, no, seriously. I mean, it's all like coordinated, and then the guy like steps up there, and the guy's in motion, right? The next guy, like as he's swinging it this way, guy, whoom, whoom, and he takes it
Yeah,
from his hands, and he's going. The guy takes a break. You know, he's got his wrist braces on and everything. It was an impressive
yeah,
operation.
spectacle. Yeah, yeah, true. So when he was getting the flag, and he was smoking marijuana like 99% of the Curva Sud, I think, because I was high only by secondhand smoke at that point. He turned around and passed me his blunt. And I just took the blunt, not knowing what to do with it, because I thought, is he sharing it with me? Does he want me to hold it because he's getting the flag? I don't know. So he was waving the flag, and I was like, well, while I have it in my hand, let's go. So, and he turned around, he got the flag to another guy, and blunt was gone. And I just bought beers, and I was like, here you go. And he was like, oh, and he started drinking my beer, passed it back to me, and we were cool like that. And after 5 minutes, I saw him like he was still a bit hot and whatever, exhausted from the flag thingy. So I offered him another beer, or a bit of my beer, and he threw me a kiss, and we were best
Mhm.
friends like that.
Mhm.
So that was it. I in 10 minutes time, I got into a fight and a romance at the same time. So it was amazing.
I told you a reverse catfish, right? Scenario with the Frederic here, but like I don't venture to guess what a loss might have looked like in that scenario if Juve was losing 2-0 at that point, but they weren't. So like it was just sort of a continuation of brotherhood and kindness and niceness. And it was a cool moment for me to witness.
Yeah, it was.
I'm just it was such an incredible evening. I mean, obviously, we're not here to talk tactics and talk about what we saw necessarily on the pitch. It's many days removed from that. We did our post game episode already from Turin Giants, and everybody either watching with us now or listening has absorbed that match and the opportunity just to talk through what we saw and experienced with the game as a backdrop to all of that is just truly enjoyable to relive. Um, but I mean, just the performance we saw, probably the most complete Juve performance that I can recall in quite some time. And yes, I know Napoli maybe deserved a penalty. Yes, they had a lot of injuries and uh, whatever that may be, it was still a great win. It is still Napoli, a very important one, given that Como will not just slow down right now. Uh, but what a special weekend. And I was just so glad to share it with both of you and many others, and my friends Mayu and Luca as well, as already mentioned. Um, I know we've got our live show coming up with G Just Juve, as we do every Thursday. Coming up here in a few minutes. Anything else that we didn't touch upon, or any memory, any experience that we didn't call out?
No, I think I want to say, because I can understand for a lot of people making that trip, having that experience is financially costly.
Mhm.
Especially the further you're located, the more costly it'll get. And this might sound biased, but it's really worth it, just because of all the emotions that you feel throughout that day. It's something, no matter the result, that will always stay with you, and it's something that it's going to stay with you forever. So if you're on the fence, and if you're thinking, well, it's a lot of money, I know it is. It's going to be, it's not going to drop down or anything in price. So take advantage of it, let go of the money aspect if you can, enjoy, because it's something that lasts with you. My wife's been once with me, she still talks about it. So it's something that's worth um the financial input, worth the time, everything. And if you can be as fortunate as we can to have somebody like Kevin and Zach there, like, which to me are friends by now, and Luca, Mayu, Maurizio, everybody that we met, then it's just, a spectacle and something you'll never forget.
And I want to emphasize that point. If you don't have somebody in the town, if it's just like you and your buddy or you and your spouse, that's what a guy like Maurizio is so important, is because so much of my experience was the people I met, not just these guys, but other folks. And now I had Kevin and Frederic with, from whom I could meet people, but Maurizio from around Turin, he has this group. His group was what, 50 people?
Yeah.
And if you're there and you can spend the weekend with 50 people from around the globe who, like you, are coming into the city from outside of Torino, gives you a basis to build make those connections with people who are there for the same reason you are. And so, not that we are paid or supported or sponsored by Around Turin, but I think such of the cool thing
Not
about
yet.
me is, but like, if we had lost, for instance, I still would have been able to hold on to meeting these guys and the other folks we had, and that was very special to me. And that's why I encourage you, to whether it be you travel with your Juve club, I know Jack's done that, or connect with someone like around Turin, Maurizio, and to go with a group. I think that will just amplify your experience.
Yep.
So I think all that's left to say before we break for
5 minutes.
For 5 minutes, yes. All that's left to say is Antonio Conte, salta con noi. Antonio Conte, salta con noi. Yes. Oh, that was magical for that to break out at least 2 or 3 times during the second half, especially after the second and third goals were scored. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for traveling. It was so great to see you. I was lucky that I was able to kind of tack this on to a work trip, but to see you guys take time away from your families to get out there was just awesome, and I'm grateful for it. And for those of you watching again here live on YouTube, thank you for spending some time with us and allowing us the opportunity to kind of recap what was a really kind of special kind of 24, 48 hours together. And for those of you listening, thank you. And we can't wait for you to join us on another YouTube video, another podcast. Thank you for continuing to spend some time with Turin Giants. Fino alla fine. Zach, looks like you want to say something.
I was just going to say one more thing before you close is, if you guys have questions, right? You're going to Torino, or you're going to a game, reach out to us. Yeah. On Instagram, Zach Talks Calcio, The Scoop Juve. Oh wait, Kevin's that this way. There it is. It's reverse camera. And Kevin Turin Giants on Instagram. Ask us. Okay, reach out. Hey, I'm going. What about this? What about that? Okay, we're a community. Utilize it. All right. Sorry, Kevin. I'm done.
No, all good. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve.
Conclusione